How y'all doing today? Today we're going to talk about tarps. Got my little baggie here. Tarp. And Ridgeline. Ridgeline is what holds your tarp up. There's several different kinds, several different ways you can do this. Me, I prefer paracord. Why? Because it's cheap, it's easy to maneuver, you don't have to have any kind of special tools to create any knots with it. And also, you can find it anywhere. You can find it anywhere. You can find it at your hardware store, grocery stores have it sometimes, gas stations, all kind of places. But today, that's what we're going to talk about. So let's get y'all moved over here so I can show you how to tie your Ridgeline. Now this is just an old line I've got hanging here. I hang a lantern on it sometimes. Now, you tie your Ridgeline. Your standard way, the bowline, just like this. Then people put a S-beaner, a D-ring, carabiner, there's many different names for them. I like these little bitty ones. These are from Niteize. They're size 0.5, little bitty tiny things. But they're stainless steel, they're strong, they're small, they're lightweight. Excuse me. The only problem is you can lose them easily, but that and they don't work. They're not easy to handle with gloves, but I like them. I like their size and their strength. But you can use standard carabiners as well. Hang on just a second. Like this. That's standard carabiner, and that's a size 0.5. This is actually a hiking carabiner, I believe. If I remember correctly, it's a 5 kN. So this one's actually designed for heavy weight, but you don't need to hold a lot of weight. So, Tarp Ridgeline. You go around your tree, and you hook a carabiner on, like so. Now, you don't want your carabiner over here and your line pulling on your carabiner like that. You want your carabiner over here about midways, and that way all the pressure is mostly on the rope. The carabiner isn't holding the weight. And from there, you go to your next tree. Let's go. To your next tree, you wrap. Get off that stick. There you go. You wrap your line around. Now, standard practice here is tying a trucker's hitch. That's what the most basic and simplest of ways to do it. If you don't know the trucker's hitch, I've got a video on how to tie the trucker's hitch. Tie the trucker's hitch and then pull tight. This isn't rocket science. You're not building a house. All it has to do is hold up a tarp. It doesn't have to be piano string tight or anything like that. Like I say, all it's doing is holding up a tarp. Now, from there, you've got these little things. These are called prusik knots. Okay. And basically, what they're designed for is you can slide them along the rope like so, but if you grab the hole and pull, you can't move it. So that's how you create tension with your tarp. You can do that by attaching one end of your tarp like so. Then you move along down the line to your next prusik. And obviously connect the other end of your tarp. If I can get it out of this little baggie. Here we go. Connect the other end of your tarp like so. Then you just pull. Now I have my tarp in a tarp sleeve. This is a webbing tarp sleeve, and that allows for it to dry out. If you're out hiking and you got rained on that night or whatever, you can shake most of the water off and then put it in one of these tarp sleeves and leave it on the outside of your bag. Hook it to the outside of your bag some way, and this webbing will allow it to dry off a little bit more, but not a whole lot. So then all you do is take your tarp sleeve, if you have one. If you don't, that's fine. They're not necessary. I just like it for organization purposes. And you push it on up your tarp. And now your tarp is free. From there, you can set it up in many, many, many different ways. This one's still wet. You take one side of your tarp, throw it over your tarp ridge line. I prefer that way, much less strain on the tarp. And then from there, you stake it out. Any old stakes will do. Most of them come with those cheap little shepherd's hook styles, and those work just fine. They're lightweight, but they bend easy, they can break, things like that. I prefer these. These are Y styles, and I'm not sure where I got these. Most likely eBay, or I may have got them at Walmart, who knows. From there, you stake your tarp out. Be back in just a minute. Ah, the magic of editing. Now, I've got it staked out on all four corners. I've left this one standard. Got my Y stake there. My knot. And it's going up to my tie-out point. Now this is a Onewind tarp, and it comes with shock cord, elastic cord, whatever you want to call it. And it's got a little thing here. I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but it's got the hook you can store your cord in, or you can slide it up and down the shock cord. That's what I use it for, to store the cord whenever I have the tarp put away. And then right here, it has a slide on it. And this slide is designed in a way so that you can pull on this and create tension in your tarp. Now it's got tension in it, and then you just lift up on it and it slides and loosens up the tension. You can buy these on eBay. You can make them yourself out of little tabs, Coke tabs, things like that. And I may do a video on that one day. But if your tarp does not have shock cords, I would advise buying some shock cord and putting on there. A little bit of more heavy duty than your small stuff. You want something fairly thick. But the shock cord provides a safety step. Okay, if somebody's walking along through your campsite and they come along and they hit your tie outs, that shock cord is going to make it so that they don't rip your tarp. The wind will grab your tarp just like it's doing now, and this shock cord prevents your tarp from getting damaged from things like that. So it's definitely something you want to try. Now, down here at your stake, see that knot I've got there? That's just a half hitch. Okay, or some people like to call it a slip knot. Okay, and they're fairly simple to tie. Give me just a sec. Once again, back from the editing magic. These are simple to tie. Just create a loop, take your loop, go over and pull through, and that's it. Put it over, pull your standing end tight, and then tighten it up, and there you go. Take your stake. I know a lot of people like to use the front of their foot. I use the heel. Goes in a lot easier that way. Then just grab your string, pull, get some tension, and there you go. You're all set up. Make sure all four corners have plenty of tension, and there you go. Now, like I said, this is the tarp from Onewind, and it comes with these little pull-outs on each side. These things. Now, these things are awesome. You can tie them off to a tree. You can use your hiking sticks, or you can get sticks from the woods, and you can tie them off and pull out like that. And there's two on each side. It just gives you more room inside your tarp. And you'll notice the tarp is pulling down on the ridgeline. That's not going to cause any problems at all. And you'll also notice on the inside here, you can hook the corners of this Onewind tarp. It gives you a little bit better view. But you can unhook them and then take your little carabiner here, hook this side over here like so. There we go. And then go in here, unhook this one, unhook this one. There you go. And you take this here, hook it like so. You can do all this from inside the tarp if necessary. If it's raining outside or snowing or anything like that, you can hook these doors from the inside of the tent, no problem. And they also help to keep you warm, keep the wind out of you. They also block out light, things like that. So now, your hammock, you would have your tree straps either right below or above your tarp ridge line, depending on the distance with your trees, how you like to lay. And your tree straps would come right in through here with no problem. And like I said, you can take these pullouts. I don't have a tree or my walking sticks handy, and you can tie them off, give you a little bit more room. If you're a little bit on the claustrophobic side, probably shouldn't shut the doors at all, because it can get somewhat tight in there. There's plenty of space in there for somebody like me, doesn't mind tight spaces, but some people would not be able to stand it. But this will protect you from getting wet in pretty much any storm. I've been out camping and had some pretty heavy downfalls, inch and a half rain falling in less than, an hour, maybe even less than that. And I've never gotten wet up under this tarp, not even a little bit. And this one's got some wear on it. You can see up here little strands coming out. And if that ever happens to your tarp, it's not a big issue. If you notice a leak or something like that, and you can get you some tarp repair. They got some in spray. You can use, heck, I've even heard of people using clear fingernail polish to do it. Now, like I said, that is a standard way that a lot of people set up their tarps. Here is a different way. And we're back. Now this is what's known as the open V style. And it gives you this space here that a lot of people like because they don't want their hammock suspension touching their ridge line. Now me personally, I do not like this V style for a few reasons. It takes up a lot more cord. It's a lot more complicated and annoying to set up. And I actually damaged one of my S-beaners here on the end of my tarp just doing this, trying to get it tight. So this setup is, like I said, it's a lot more complicated for me anyway. Some people love it, and some people have absolutely no problem with it. They don't damage anything, and if that's what you want to do, then that's what you do. This is how you do it. You start off, come back here. There you go. There you go. You start off on one end, and you hook your tarp to your ridge line with a beaner, this little beaner. You run your ridge line around the tree, back, and then into this beaner here. Now you can just hook this right into this doesn't matter as long as it's hooked, and you have to run the line back into your beaner. And then you have to have your tarp on your line while you're doing this, obviously. Then you run your line along here, either, and this is another thing, you have to set this up the right way prior to being able to decide to being able to have your tarp either under or over your ridge line. You can't swap out between the two. You can't make changes unless you redo the whole thing. So then you run your line and you go through your beaner, around your tree, and then back through your beaner. And how you get tension, you can tie a trucker's hitch on your first line that comes around the tree, loop into it, pull tension. If you have enough rope, you can go around your tree again, pull tension, and tie a simple knot to hold it there. However you feel comfortable keeping that tension in. Like I said, there's only one advantage to this setup, and there's a lot of disadvantages in my opinion. The one advantage is your suspension system doesn't touch your ridge line. Disadvantage is there's a lot more potential for bad things to happen, such as this right here, damaging your beaner, damaging your tarp. You don't have, well, you have to have more rope. This uses about, my estimation, somewhere around 30% more rope than your standard line that I showed you before, your standard ridge line. So my ridge lines are normally anywhere from 30 to 50 feet, depends on where I'm going. If I don't know where I'm going, I'll take my 50 foot. If I know where I'm going and I know 30 feet will be fine, I'll take my 30 foot. This one right here is a 30 foot. But yeah, this setup right here, like I said, it's a known one. It's a fairly commonly used one, but I don't like it. It's not my preference. I prefer the simple one. You know, you hook your beaner up, you run your line, tie a knot in it, tie a trucker's hitch, put tension, tie a knot off in it, and there you go, you're set up. You can set your tarp up however you want using the Prusix. You do not have to use the Prusix with this setup. I left these on here just because, but they are not necessary for this setup, you know. Which, I mean, I guess you could count that as an advantage, but not much of one. So, and as you can see, that is hanging really low. I did that for a couple purposes. Number one, when you're doing this setup, you pretty much have to have your tarp on the ground, and when you finally get some tension in it, you have to go to your first end. You have to pick your line up to where you want it, where you want your ridge line to be at, and then you have to go to the other end, loosen up your tension a little bit, pick the whole system up on this side as well, put your tension back in it. It takes too long. It's really complicated. It's really annoying. Now, I will say this, if you're doing a more permanent setup, like if you're setting up a campsite in your backyard or something like that, and it's a semi-permanent setup, you're going to set it up, you know, in the fall and just leave it there until winter. This is a great system for that, because you can set it up and stake your tarp out, or leave your tarp in your sleeve, or however you want to do it, and you can just leave it there all, you know, 9 months or whatever. And then whenever you come out to set your hammock up under it, you can just hang your hammock, and you don't have to worry about your hammock straps rubbing against your line too often, except for in high winds maybe, and you don't get much wear and tear. But to be honest with you, even then, it's not that great of a setup. So the other reason I have this one pretty low is because I didn't feel like fooling with it. It's, like I said, this is an annoying way to set it up. And there are many other ways, which I will do in future videos. There's these things. These are Niteize cam locks, cord locks, whatever they call them. Those are pretty neat. I will do a video on those in the future, on how to use them and their usefulness and so forth. There are other products. Let's see what I got here in my little baggie. These things. These are from Niteize as well. I think they call this the figure 9, if I remember correctly. This is pretty neat. This is basically just a mechanical replacement for the trucker's hitch. It's pretty neat. I'll do a video on this in the future as well. These are lightweight. They're aluminum. They can take a beating. They're really simple to use. I mean, they've even got the instructions printed right on the product. You know, there's absolutely no trouble using those at all. And those are nice. The trucker's hitch is always a good thing to know, though, because if you're out and you happen to lose any of your hardware, you should know how to tie knots that are useful for you in emergency situation, if an emergency situation arises. Hopefully that never happens to you. So yeah, all for this video in particular anyway. I will put links in the description for the Niteize 0.5 size S-beaners. I will put a link for those in the description. Also put a link in the description for the Onewind tarp. This is their 12-foot. And I believe I got the tarp sleeve from them too. If I did, I will put the description for that as well. Now, don't forget to subscribe, and happy camping.